make sure that the discussion points had been highlighted.
Can I add something as far as my hesitation with approving it? I think the access and the safety does sound like it's an issue. Trailhaven is a gravel road. I live on a gravel road. When there's a lot of traffic on it, you get a lot of potholes, even if they're using dust control, you get a lot of potholes. It's difficult when you're driving over really big potholes and trying to pull out onto a busy county road. You're bouncing along in these potholes and trying to get up speed and get out onto county road, which can get busy at certain times. So the safety, I think, could be an issue too, and a reason to deny it.
Okay, so I'm gonna check. Does anybody need?
I need to.
Okay, we're gonna take a 5-minute to go to the bathroom before we move on to the next agenda item. All right, and so then we're gonna pick up again with our commission meeting with agenda item 6C, which is Karanimi Acres Second Edition Preliminary Plat and Variance. And we're gonna begin with the staff report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, this is item 6C. It's a public hearing as well. Karanimi Acres Second Edition. This is a request from Michael Karanimi, who's requesting approval of a preliminary plat and variance, which would realign the shared property line between the properties at 6855 Willow Drive and 6840 Rolling Hills Road. Both properties are zoned rural residential.
Yeah.
Pause 1 second,
Sorry.
Dwight. We're just gonna ask Councilman Varenkamp to please ask the folks out in the area.
Or close the doors, whatever.
I think we're supposed to leave the doors open, am I correct? I think we're supposed to leave the doors open and just ask the folks to move outside. Thanks. Okay, Dwight, please continue.
Sounds good. All right, and as I was saying, both properties are zoned rural residential and both are guided rural/ag residential. The site itself consists of the two properties, 6588 Willow, which was a lot within the Karanimi Acres subdivision, and 6840 Rolling Hills Road, which was part of the Rolling Hills Acres subdivision. The request is, again, to realign the shared property line, which, if I can get my laser pointer out, presently is right along this line, and they are adjusting it to allow the transfer of approximately 10 acres of land from the property on Willow Drive, or with the Willow Drive address, to the property with the Rolling Hills address. So the properties both meet the minimum dimensional requirements within the rural residential district, and one of the properties meets the frontage requirement of the subdivision ordinance. However, the property with the Willow address does not meet this requirement, as it is a landlocked parcel and receives its access from a shared private drive that runs through two properties to the west. So that doesn't meet the subdivision requirements and would require a variance in order for the plat to be approved. Touching on some of the natural features, there are a significant amount of wetlands on the property, and these were delineated with the previous plats of the Karanimi Acres Edition and the Rolling Hills Acres Edition. And so with new plats, all wetlands are required to comply with the wetland overlay district, which includes buffering and signage. However, with this application, this wetland has already met those requirements and has been satisfied with the previous plats. So just touching on the variance, again, section 945 outlines the standards for lot arrangements, which includes access to an improved street, which the proposed plat does not include that access for lot 2. Staff believes that application does meet the standards and practical difficulty thresholds of the variance, as the existing parcel is landlocked and is not being worsened or intensified with the request. And the circumstances are unique to the site itself, as the buildable area exists on a peninsula surrounded by wetlands. So in order for it to have that frontage on a public road, which would be on Rolling Hills Road to the west, you would be having to do a significant amount of wetland fill in order to span a driveway over there. And with it being an existing condition and not being worsened, staff finds that has met the variance thresholds. And again, this does granting this would align with the existing character of the locality, because it is an existing use and it isn't changing, it's just the lot lines are changing, and would be consistent with the comprehensive plan. So at this point, staff recommends that you open the public hearing and take testimony. Staff recommends approval of the preliminary plat and variance as outlined within the draft resolution. And if the commission wants to choose between options, they could choose approval of the draft resolution as drafted, or you could recommend denial of the draft resolution. But if you do recommend denial, it should include, if you deny the variance, then you would also be denying the preliminary plat as well.
Okay, thank you, Dwight. And at this point in time, then we'll open up the public hearing related to this issue. So if there's anybody who'd like to speak, we don't have any comment cards, I'm assuming, no?
Correct.
No comment cards, but if there's anybody who would like to speak on this second edition of preliminary plat and variance, please make your way to the podium. Yep. State your name and address for the record, please.
Right. Christopher Ennis, 6820 Rolling Hills Road. My property backs right up to the 10 acres. Just one quick question. Are they still allowed to put that road in to a lot if they do the subdivide?
And what we'll do is we'll take your questions, and then when the public hearing is closed, we'll address the questions.
All right.
Thank you so much. Any other questions?
Good evening, my name is Kevin Schnazy. I live at 6800 Rolling Hills Road. Excuse me. To Chris's question, just concerned with the language that is currently in the HOA pertaining to that extension of the road, of the private road to this particular property in question.
Great. Thank you so much. Is there anyone else? Okay, at this point in time, then I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Nope. Okay, and I'd like to give staff an opportunity to address the question regarding the road, whether it would be allowed to go back to this 10-acre parcel for subdivision. But if you need a few minutes, just let me know.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I'm looking at the preliminary plat right now and just seeing where the private drive easement ends, and I don't believe that it goes all the way to the back of the existing boundary line. I can try and zoom in a little bit more here to see if I can make that out. But to my understanding, that private drive would not extend all the way back to that 10 acres.
And this is the private drive related to that, so the 10-acre parcel, the private drive is located on the property that abuts Rolling Hills Road. That's the one that's in question.
Correct, and we will have to double check
Double check.
where that easement lies, just to confirm.
Okay.
We can check that.
And whether or not an additional easement is then taken for the road, if it's possible for it to be all the way to the back now of this added lot.
We could include that as a condition, although I believe that the questions are hoping to prevent that
Correct.
extension, yeah. So.
Right, because I think the concern is over whether or not this additional 10 acres could be subdivided. I think that's ultimately the reason to inquire about that road making it all the way back. Am I?
The question is just if it's going to come through our private property to that addition, or if it goes through, when they connect two lands, if they run the road through your property.
Gotcha. Okay, so we'll check on that. Yep, okay, thank you. Okay, is there anybody who has questions?
So we don't have an answer, or?
We're looking it up.
Okay.
Are you talking about the easement on Willow for Karen Amy's house that's on the 40-acre lot? Or are you talking about a potential road from Rolling Hill Road?
There's a private drive that exists on the property that touches
On
Rolling Hills Road.
Oh.
And so there's just a question about whether or not that would be extended, and if so, where. But that may,
I mean, there's no development rights on this, other than one, correct? For the property on Rolling Hill Road.
I don't know.
And there's one development right on the 40 acres.
there's a question that staff would answer in regard to the development rate.
The development rights are remaining
As they
allocated
are.
as they are today.
On Karen Amy's property, not on the property that would be selling to.
It's
No,
it's
they're
just
not.
moving it, it's both owned by him. So
Yep.
he's not gaining any additional development rights other than what already currently exists.
Correct.
I thought somebody named Brockman owns the 10 acres on Rolling Hill Road.
Correct, yep.
And Karen Amy
Owns the property
Property.
with the Willow address.
with the Willow address, was selling the 10 acres to Brockman.
Correct,
as the
Yes.
Rolling Hill frontage.
correct, yep.
Yes.
And there's one development rights on Karen Amy's property. One additional besides the home he's already built
I
there?
believe so, but I think what we're trying to say is the development rates aren't changing at this point, so, because it's not.
It
there's no-
remains.
It's a lot line adjustment, we had to do a plat because of the variance, but ultimately, there isn't a new lot being created with
Yeah.
this.
So the Rolling Hill property could build one,
Yeah, they could build one today,
One-
and they'd
one
be able to
peak.
build one after this.
and they'd be able to build two?
No, I'm sorry, they could build one, as things are today, they can build one.
Yeah.
And then after this transaction, they'd still be able to build
It
just
stays
one.
the same. They don't gain an
Right,
additional.
right, right.
Yeah.
They have one regardless.
Mhm.
If they buy the 10 acres, they still just have one for the whole property of now 20 acres.
Correct.
I don't see any concern.
If he were to, if the owner of Brockman were to develop this 20-acre property in the future, like when Musa comes in, does that trail easement, that's the existing trail easement across the back of that Rolling Hill property, would that be a problem? Would you, if you wanted to develop that according to Musa? Or is that not even a question that's pertinent to
They would
this?
have to develop with that in mind. The trail easement is permanent.
I make a motion to approve. Well, I'm sorry,
Nope.
did you have
Nope. I was
other
just-
things you wanted to?
I was just going to say that pending, would we be able to get these gentlemen in? Well, we're going to second the motion, and then all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? And then is there a process through which we can answer their question at a,
I can give
I don't
them
know.
my card, or we can get contact information.
to just
and-
follow up
and we can
with the
follow up.
answer to your question, if that's helpful? Thank you. Okay, and so then we move on to item 6D, which is,
Madam Chair,
yes,
I'm gonna head out.
Okay.
I've seen the
Sure.
park plan and everything.
Yep.
I know her better than I want to know, but, the plans and stuff, love to hear what you're saying. I know,
Welcome.
love to hear what you're gonna say, but I've got a job to get to in the morning. Is there any questions for me? I know I'm usually last on the agenda, but is there anything for me, from you guys?
Do you guys
If I
have
may
any-
ask that?
updates.
Nope.
No.
Great conversations tonight, guys.
Okay,
Anything?
no,
Okay, thanks.
thank you so much.
See you, kiddo.
Okay, so we will move on to the staff report for the City Park Remaster Site Plan and Variance. And who gets to give the
That one.
presentation?
Me, if my computer will work, this is fun. Okay. one second.
But if I may, can I just introduce myself?
Yeah,
and say hi?
absolutely.
This is my first time actually at a planning commission meeting in my 7 years here, so thank you for
Wow.
having me. Happy birthday.
Thanks.
If you stick around, there's brownies afterwards.
Only if we
nice.
get to sing.
How
That'd be
did
the
you
Parks and
make it
Trails.
7 years without coming to a planning commission
Yeah.
meeting?
Well, see, they had me as the staff liaison for the Parks and Trails Commission,
Ah.
so I get my own group of fun people.
Yeah, you do.
But I'm
They
very
are
happy
good-
to join you tonight, so thank you so much.
Good group. Okay, all right, and we're gonna give Natalie a little bit more time.
Do I
Welcome to the fun.
need to.
I don't know, Parks and Trails.
Oh, yeah.
We get a lot of fun topics.
Park file and open up the power
true.
This is one of them.
I guess I'm.
But I
getting
do
old.
work very frequently with all three of the staff up here, and
Sure.
they're all fabulous people in my opinion.
Yes.
Yes, we are the community development team. We're just missing 3 people, or half of it.
Yeah, we're half the team. Plus Kendra.
Yes.
You're always an added bonus.
I love when Kendra comes. We don't get her all the time. That's great.
No, not lately.
Do you just want my mouse?
Wait, no, we need yours. I don't know why I did that. Click. All right, thank you. Okay, so yes, this is our last item on the agenda tonight, is the city park remaster. We are looking at a site plan and 2 variances tonight. Go ahead and go to the next slide. So this is a city-initiated project that has been going on for, there's been concentrated design efforts for over a year now, but actually this has been in the talks for, I believe, at least 7 years.
My entire tenure here.
Yeah, so it's been a project with a lot of blood and sweat that's gone into it so far. And we are looking to complete a first phase of park improvements at City Park. As I said, this tonight in front of you is the site plan and 2 variants. We will need a variance for the building setback as the location is currently proposed, and then looking at some flexibility with our buffer yard requirement. And then just to clarify, we were talking about 2 parcels that make up City Park, 20400 and 20200 on County Road 50. The eastern parcel we obtained as donated parkland, and then the western parcel we obtained a few years back as a purchase from the Rockford School District. Go ahead. Sorry, the city park improvements that are part of the remaster at this time. We are looking to do significant upgrades to the fields. And that will allow for better programming of this space. This is the park where all of our youth programming youth recreational programming occurs. And then we're also looking to relocate and upgrade the playground. So actually I should say we're going to tear down the current playground and then a new playground will be created. And then the park building is on this site plan, and that will include some space that will be available for community meetings, available to the public for rent as community space as well. And then we're also incorporating the Three Rivers Regional Trail as a part of this update. So here is the pretty site plan that has been prepared. Where's your mouse? There it is. So as stated, so the park building, can you see the, where did it go? Laser pointer is not working. Okay, well then basically the improvements are primarily occurring on the west phase at this point. So the playground would be, the existing location on the playground is on the eastern parcel, so that improvement would be there. But as far as the improvements, we're now pretty much consolidated on the western parcel at this time. Oh, perfect. So then we have the park buildings located right about here. And it is right on the property line between the 2 park parcels. And then we have the playground located right here. We have some baseball fields, some soccer fields, which can also be used for cricket. And then I think we've also have some carve-outs for some future pickleball fields as well too. I think we also have a space carved out potentially for a future splash pad. That is not a part of the current proposals. It's just more of an earmark to allow that with a future phase as funding potentially allows. As a part of this, we will be paving at least a portion of the parking lot to coincide with the building improvements. We have right now a phased approach planned with the parking lot. As funding allows, there's still the potential that this gets just paved all at once. We're looking at how the bidding comes back for it. But as funding allows, we would be paving the entire parking lot no later than the second phase of improvements would that be entirely paved. And then the regional trail, it's hard to see on this one, but it kind of just follows the western boundary of the site and then kind of crosses over around the fields before going up into Rush Creek. So it gives kind of a meandering overview of the entire park on the western side. Oh, next slide. So this is the technical diagram that we're also going on. So this is what shows the 0-foot setback for the building, and is the technical site plan. This is the proposed building. The materials do comply with city code. There is a little bit of information that needs to be confirmed as a condition of approval, and our architect will be able to confirm that. But overall, they have been designing this with our city code in mind, and this does, staff is confident that it will be able to comply. And then just for fun reference, it's not really in our purview, but these are some shots of the new proposed playground. So there's going to be 2 areas, the 5 to 12 year. CB here will be able to speak to these a lot more than me. But we're very excited about the slide in the tower. That slide's going to be taller than the slide at French Park, the main one here that's on the silo. We have a swing set, and then we have a 2 to 5 year old section as well, where they have a kind of a place made out of the trailer. So the play on our agrarian history was definitely something we wanted to highlight with the playground. So we're incorporating that as part of the design. So for the site plan, overall, the site plan is, because they have been, Parks has been collaborating with planning and engineering, the site plan has very few conditions of approval. There are a couple that we just need to clean up. Some public safety comments we received is they just wanted to confirm the Rogers Fire Chief, this is in his district, and so he would like to confirm hydrant locations. A 150-foot hose pole is required because the park building will not be sprinklered. Public safety outdoor warning point must be designated with the park on the site plan. Location of the garbage container that will serve the building needs to be located on the plans with the screening details. Screening of all rooftop and ground mounted equipment is required. I believe I saw one transformer that we would have to add some screening to, and then, which is ground mounted. And then screening on the western side of the parking lot to a height of at least 3 feet needs to be added. And we've already talked about where that could potentially go, and we think that that would be very doable. And then, again, we talked about the phased approach for the western parking lot. Overall, we have plenty of parking on the site. But we just added, we are adding some parking with this, and then there's going to be 50 paved lots to serve the added use of the building. And I think it's actually just a little over 50 parking spaces, not 50 paved lots. Right?
Yeah, I was gonna be
Just
like,
to correct.
I got what you meant.
Parking spaces.
Be a lot of
and
parking.
lot. So again, so we have 2 variances. So the first one we'll go over is the 0-foot offset of the internal property line that's zoomed in right here. Overall, the reason why we want to keep the property line is because we did obtain these 2 properties in different means. The donated parkland, we cannot use it for anything other than park. The land that we purchased from the city, that gives us a little bit more flexibility for something other than park space, and we're not ready to remove that flexibility at this point. So that's kind of the unique situation. Overall, it is a campus at this time, today as it exists, it operates as one campus, one site. And so it is an internal setback, and we can never, the city can never can never
Change the use.
Yes, can never sell the property to the east. So there's no danger of that property all of a sudden not being used for park. So we do feel that the standards for a variance have been met. A condition of approval that I included in the variance is that when the city does look to either change the lot lines or subdivide, that at that time that the lot lines be drawn in such a way that the building complies with all setbacks. The next variance has to do with our buffer yard and where the Three Rivers Regional Trail alignment was decided upon in collaboration with Three Rivers and our Parks and Trails Commission. So they would like the trail to follow the southwest boundary of the site before kind of cutting over to the fields. Because of the zoning district, which is technically PI for the city park parcel, and the properties to the west are urban reserve, we are supposed to have a fairly significant buffer width that is placed into a conservation easement and is planted with trees. For the most part, that west boundary is entirely like, it has so many trees that we are meeting, if not exceeding, the buffer yard requirements. However, because of where we are locating the required stormwater and the elevations that come with that, and then also having to need to remove some trees for the trail, and you don't want trees too close to the trail, no matter how much root barrier there is, there will eventually cause a problem. There can be a conflict with and it affects the integrity of the trail. There is a portion of the trail path that does cut into what should be that buffer yard. Additionally, so it's just this little area, kind of cut, this area is my best guess is what we're talking about. So it's a fairly small area. The property to the west is heavily treed, and then the rest of the boundary is heavily treed as well. And so that is requesting relief from that, as well as having to place it into a conservation easement. I don't believe that when that code was created, it contemplated it for land that was in city park. It doesn't make sense for the city to grant a conservation easement to itself for property it already owns. So those are the requirements that we're asking to be deviated from. I didn't propose any conditions of approval for that second variance. Again, I'm not seeing how adding trees would be doable with that trail location. However, I'm open to suggestions from the Planning Commission of what we could do to maybe mitigate granting that variance. Overall, staff recommends approval of the site plan with the conditions proposed and approving the two variances.
All right, thank you, Natalie. And at this time, we will open the public hearing related to the City Park Remaster Site Plan and Variance. So if there's anyone here who would like to make public testimony regarding this agenda item, please step up to the podium and state your name and address.
I didn't see any mention about lights.
Could you just start with your name and address?
I'm so
No,
sorry.
it's okay. It just helps
I'm
us.
Jody Tabor, and I'm at 7790 Corcoran Trail East.
Great. Thank you so
And
much.
I didn't see any mention about lights, but we're, in a place where, it's fairly dark in the back of our house, so we are always, whenever we hear about planning like this, we want to know about the lights. We love the sound of people playing in the back, so that's not a problem, but we're just wondering if they're going to be adding more lights. Like, for instance, baseball parks a lot of times will add lights and things like that.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I will make sure that as soon as we close the public hearing, that we will address the question. Is there anyone else who had any question or comment they wanted to make regarding the City Park Remaster? So then at this time, I would make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second that.
And all those in favor, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? And then if we could just address any lighting plan, that would be great.
Yes, I did not go over that, I do apologize. But yes, the zoning ordinance provides that the lights cannot exceed 1 foot candle as measured from the property line. We do have some lights being added to the parking lot, the trail, and around the playground. And then the building will also have some lights as well. But the lighting plan that was submitted is showing that well before the property line, we're at 0 candles. So there will be lights added, and then as far as the baseball fields, was there any new lighting proposed for that?
No, so at this time, the only lighting within the park for the fields themselves would be at Lions Field, which truthfully, I don't think has ever been turned on in the 7 years I've been here. And beyond that, we don't have intention for this phase of the park to include field lights.
And then just a question, because you mentioned it, there's gonna be lights along the trail?
Yeah, just some, here, let me see if I can find a photo.
Sorry.
They're cute. Let's see. In my professional opinion.
And I guess the thinking is to, like, the hours where it gets dark early in the wintertime is why we're thinking light the trail. We're not necessarily trying to encourage, because are there park hours?
And then it's the sidewalk around the playground.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it's not the
I'm
Diamond
sorry,
Lake
I meant
Regional
side
Trail.
view,
It's
so I
just,
said it wrong.
Gotcha, right near the playground,
yeah, the
okay.
space around the playground, just so that you can navigate back. We had
Yes.
also talked about potential lighting down into the pinwheel of fields, just for safety purposes, But the main focus is going to be those parking lot lights and then some lighting within the sidewalk area.
Okay,
And on the building, I'm sorry.
the exterior.
Yes.
The trail lights are just little low pedestrian lights, I take it.
Yeah, no, that's why I said they were cute, but I can't find them now. Do you have them, CB? Give me just a second. They're not tall lights, they're definitely more pedestrian scale.
I had a question on, if we are ready to move on, or if not.
Well, they can look for the lights while you
Okay.
ask.
Sorry, did you have something you wanted
No,
to?
no, go ahead.
Okay, the public, the proposed building, I'm not abreast of the plan there on, is that like a rentable use? Weddings, birthdays, reunions,
Yes.
whatnot? Okay.
So intention for that building was going to be internal programming. That could be parks and recreation, that could be elections. As I'm sure you guys are aware, we're really short on space internally
Yeah.
here. It could be firearm safety with the police department. So really engaging with all of the different departments in the city. And then beyond that, it would be a rentable use for community members. We heard when we lost the community room back in 2019 or so, I still receive some phone calls and emails asking for it, so it's definitely a needed space. So really
sure.
trying to focus on that.
Okay, great. And I assume that that distance from that building to the ballpark is fine. It looked close to me, but my depth perception's not great, so.
Fair enough. So to the east is going to be Lions Field to the southeast, and it's pointed in a different direction, so that wouldn't be an impacted area. The other one would be Field 1, which does point towards the playground. However, as part of that, we are shortening that field, and then we're going to put some landscaping
Okay.
to help with that. Also, we handle the reservations for that, so we would keep it to youth only. We're not having adults out there cranking homers into the playground. So.
Right, yeah, and I was thinking about, you have a birthday party and you have toddlers running around and they're on the back side of that building and you've got home runs coming directly at the building, I'm like,
No, that's not the intention. Also, just a fun fact about the playground, it is embedded into the hillside, so we have made it so that it's really user-friendly and parent-friendly, so they can look over the area, really watch their kids closely, and then they do have some space near the building to kind of hang out if they don't want to stand right there.
oh, and you know what? Okay, so I'm looking at the gravel circle straight east of the proposed building, like at that corner.
T-ball.
And I'm thinking I'm not looking at it right, because that's not,
I think those are T-ball. Those four
Okay.
little
Oh, to
circles
the
are
east,
T-ball.
yes, those are T-ball fields. Yeah, no,
Okay.
we don't put anyone older than 7 on those.
okay.
And they're pointed in the opposite direction
Yep.
too.
Other comments, just quick, totally agree with the 0 variance. Fine, good, makes sense, totally agree without doing a conservation easement with that too, so otherwise don't see any other concerns.
Quick question, because the current existing playground will be torn down, will that pavilion be lost as a potential rental space? So you're leaving the pavilion, you're just taking down the playground?
The playground and the tennis courts are going to get taken out as part of this. The tennis courts have seen better days, and the playground
Yep.
is 25 years old and could be
Yep.
replaced.
Yeah,
But the pavilion will stay and will be a
Pavilion will stay.
rentable option, so you now have the two, potentially the community room and the pavilion.
Correct.
Okay, and then on the map, it almost looks like a curved, like, amphitheater is, okay,
Future phase.
that's a future phase, okay. So just being
It
put
was
in there as a
colored in, it
potential
looked like it was part of the plan.
placeholder.
It doesn't have a number. We're trying to show that it's a future phase and we're planning for it, but we're not including it here. It's kind of a tough way to show it.
Yeah, no, and it's on the alternate items map, so I understand that, like, the non-numbered map. I also agree with the 0 foot setback, as long as what you said is if there were to be a redrawing of the lot lines, that it be done so that, that it is brought into compliance. The buffer zone, if I'm understanding it correctly, we are just not, we own the city owns the property to the west.
No, I'm sorry. So the east and west parcels are the park site.
Yep,
The properties to
The
the west
west.
of that are urban reserve.
yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so the only reason I ask that is that potentially, right, if something redevelops there at some point in the future, it's possible that that small section of trail not have a buffer. But that could be addressed with future development to buffer out the trail.
So yeah, I believe that it's all, here, let me pull up the staff report. The long-term land use guidance, I believe it's mostly low-density residential. And they would likely need to do some kind of buffer on the perimeter. They might not, we might not.
As
need
they
to.
buffer.
Yeah.
Okay.
They might not need to because of the PI. I'm sorry, I'm trying to think that through.
Sorry.
Because of PI is technically the more intense use, because
So they would be the one who would have to buffer, not the other way.
well, technically we are the ones that would have to buffer.
Yeah.
So, but if we were to buffer, then basically the trail design,
Changes.
it would change drastically. It would
Yep.
be on basically a straight shot on the east parcel, so you wouldn't have the meandering effect, just because there's really no other way to get the trail corridor that Three Rivers requires, and the trail, they also require like specific radiuses as well. There's really no way to get it to work on the west side. I don't get
But the worst case scenario would just be that there's a segment of the trail that is just not buffered,
Right.
like it is more open. Okay. And then the last question I have regarding that trail is it biker and pedestrian? Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to verify, because of, but that's some of the reason for the radius that's required by Three Rivers. Okay.
So there's gonna be one way in and one way out, and one parking lot, or no? Am
3
I-
parking lots, 2 ways in, 2 ways out, technically, because we still have the 2 parking lots on
By the
the
hockey
east
rinks.
parcel.
Right,
yes.
that's not going away.
Yeah,
Correct.
for the building, there's one parking lot with one way in and one way out, yes.
And then with the trail, I guess that was the last question is, it will go right up to County Road 10, and the car access off of County Road 10 is closed with the city park remaster, or you can still drive in
Are you talking during construction or post-construction?
post-construction,
You would still be able to access those lots from
those lots.
County Road.
Okay.
10. Yep.
And then is there anything in terms of a crosswalk across County Road 10? I know that's a county thing,
Yes.
but, okay.
Yes, so that is something that we did focus on as part of the Diamond Lake Regional Trail, getting that access to Rush Creek Reserve.
Okay.
Because we have heard that's something that the community wants.
Okay.
So removing part of the fencing along County
Yep.
Road 10 would be included in that for the
Yeah,
crosswalk.
okay. All right,
So that little parking lot by the pavilion is staying?
Yes,
Okay, cool.
and they'll stay gravel too, keeping that rural feel,
Oh, I mean,
For now.
but also
Phased
saving.
and
lovely.
Yeah.
well, the comment I wanted to make while Dean was here is that, but he's gone, but I'll make it, is just that I do love the nod to the rural, and I hope that as much effort is being made into just, continuing rural to be a use even as we develop, that's my thing, I always say it.
I was
So-
gonna make that exact same comment.
As much as effort as being thoughtful design is going into the playground, I hope that that's also being done. But otherwise, at this point in time, I would make a motion to approve City File 25-015.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No. Okay, and then we are through our new business items, and we're ready to move on to other reports. We talked about it last time, the resources for the proposed bills. I don't know if anybody wants to say anything else in regards to that. Otherwise, we would just have any questions for the planning project update, which maybe I left it at home. Did you guys get a planning project update?
No.
So there was no
Later.
planning project update.
Madam Chair, I apologize. This is intended to be provided ahead of tonight's meeting, and with the workload,
Sure.
it was left off unfortunately. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys may have on any of the projects going on throughout the city.
Does anyone
I
have
don't know,
any
I
questions?
saw just kind of mush at this point.
If we have any questions outside of the meeting, we can certainly email Dwight or Natalie, and otherwise we can look for an update. Does anyone have an idea? I guess this would be a question on what, how heavy or light the agenda for June is looking at this point in time.
Yes,
I
good
believe we
question.
have 2 items in June. One is an open space and preservation plat, and then the other is a zoning ordinance amendment for agribusiness as a potential use and the requirements and standards for that.
Okay. Different than cooperative farming, agribusiness?
Yeah, so
Okay,
these are like agriculture adjacent, like
Sure.
apple
Sure.
orchards,
Tourism,
a
kind of.
winery,
okay,
things like that.
perfect, all right. Thank you. Does anybody else have any additional questions? No, okay. All right, then I will, make a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
I'll second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No.